Now, in that interview, Greg Kelton mentioned the National's Barnaby Joyce and his concerns about the future of the rice industry. He's one of a number of critics who say that a crucial report by the Murray-Darling Basin Authority should have been released in the campaign. The report is the beginning of a process that could see billions of dollars spent transforming the river and the farming industry along it. But the authority held it back because it said the government was in caretaker mode. Simon Rowe's been looking at another election debate that never was.
This is the Murray Mouth, one of the few mouths that hasn't had anything flowing out of it during the election campaign. In the human imagination, it's the end of the beleaguered 3,700-kilometre Murray-Darling system. Some argue, though, it should be seen as the beginning, or at least a very good place to start.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that the bottom end, or this end, is where it deteriorates rapidly and first. And this is where we should start fixing up this end. And I honestly believe that if you can get this end all right, if you can get it working, then it will bring the whole Murray-Darling Basin into line.
Lower Lakes fisherman Henry Jones hopes the tool to do that will be the Murray-Darling Basin Authority's new blueprint for divvying up the river's water. The authority has been working on the plan since June 2009. Henry Jones has been a member of the BCC, the Basin Consultative Committee, that's looked at the social and economic impacts of the plan.
We've visited every region in the Murray-Darling Basin, the 19 of them, and without fail, every one of those regions, even the top end of Queensland, has said, yes, something's got to be done, but not in my area, somewhere else.
But according to the experts, the plan will bring dramatic change to anyone and everyone who depends on the river.
It's inevitable we'll have a smaller irrigation entity. This is the largest single ecological or environmental change the nation's ever set out to achieve.
The Wentworth group of scientists wants the environment to get a minimum 40% of the water available for extraction in a year, and on its modelling that could mean cuts along the Murrumbidgee of 65%. Don Blackmore ran the Murray-Darling Basin Commission, the new authority's predecessor, for 15 years. He says science alone won't provide the answers to who gets what share. In the end, there are choices.
Because clearly you can't go back to European development levels. So it's a challenge, it's a challenging space, and it requires judgment. The science can certainly inform it, but there's no prescription.
But at the start of the election campaign, and with communities facing the consequences of those choices, another important mouth closed over. The MDBA was due to release a guide to the plan in early August. It decided not to, citing the Caretaker Convention, which traditionally prevents governments from signing contracts during campaigns. Both sides, though, are still promising to be the river's saviour.
We will buy water as necessary from willing sellers to get the water going down the river to restore the river to health.
We support a strong science-based basin plan that will enable our agriculture to be sustainable, which will provide proper supplies of drinking water to cities like Adelaide, and which gives a fair return for the environment.
But political commentators say without the plan, assessing what those promises mean is difficult, and that's meant there's been little real debate.
It allows the parties to be making gestures towards the initiatives they would take without actually having to put a dollar figure or a gigalitre figure on it.
Up and down the river, the ripples from the delay have been felt. Just outside Paringa in South Australia's Riverland is Ben Haslett's family property, where they grow citrus fruit, grapes and almonds. He believes the MDBA should have stuck to its original timetable, and delaying has hurt.
I think really we can sum it up as nervous, fearful, uncertain. They're the real key things. We need certainty, and we need to make sure that we can plan, because when we plant a citrus tree, there's 25 years there. So at the moment, I can't look 1 year ahead.
To Ben Haslett, it's clear some irrigators will need to leave the river, but the not knowing who and when or how they'll be compensated isn't just making irrigators edgy.
There are banks that are nervous because obviously they've got money in assets. If you take water away from our farming businesses, you're taking away value, and so that can devalue the asset. And in some ways it's a bit like saying we're going to turn the electricity off to your house and cut off the plumbing supplies. What would that do to the value of your house?
But back at the Lower Lakes, Henry Jones argues the divisiveness of an election campaign is no place to release the plan, though he says not all of his fellow committee members agreed.
Well, I think it was probably almost half and half. I feel as though it was the right thing to do. I feel that we've been messing up the river for over 100 years, and 1 month extra is not going to make much difference. And I thought if you get it into the political arena, then it'll be this and that and reporters and one thing and another, and it'll be just a mess.
I think that this is the perfect time to be talking about it, right at this minute before the election campaign, so that we can get some commitment out of governments, that they will give support to the communities, they will give support to food producers.
The MDBA wouldn't be interviewed for this story. Whenever its work is released, it's bound to generate controversy. Ben Hazlitt argues South Australia has already done a lot of the hard work of investing in water saving, bringing in efficient irrigation methods that other states are only now adopting. He says that shouldn't be forgotten when it comes to compensation. And while promises by both parties to buy back water will help individual irrigators, he says if too many leave, whole communities will collapse.
And so we can't be the forgotten people. We can't be, oh, you're outside the city, sorry, we're just going to cut it and you can fend for yourself. So we need to make sure there's a good understanding of what rural Australia does and contributes, and that we make sure that we can find a pathway forward for all of us.
Henry Jones too knows there's pain to come. He's not sure if it will save him, but he hopes it will save the river.
Look, fishermen are not important. What's really important is fish. Because, quite frankly, without fish you haven't got fishermen. But what's important that we pass something on. I've been fighting my guts out, quite frankly, since 1981, since the mouth closed, to try and get the river sustainable. And if this happens, I believe it will be sustainable. We'll be able to pass something on to future generations.